Kale Reiner hadn't meant to stumble into this mess. He had been crossing the broken stone ridges of the shattered expanse, mind set only on reaching the next vein of water before his supplies ran dry. But fate had a cruel habit of planting obstacles in his path, and today it had planted her. She lay in the dust like a discarded ornament, half buried in grit, her long violet hair dulled with sweat and blood. The sunlight caught in her fox-like ears, also tinted the same shimmering purple as her hair, making them twitch faintly against the wind. Her golden eyes blinked open when his shadow fell over her. The tribe she belonged to, the Nithris, was already no more than a line of fading silhouettes on the horizon. They hadn't even glanced back. Kale muttered under his breath, spitting dust from his teeth. Figures. Leave the wounded behind. The girl's lips parted, voice raspy but sharp. It is our law. The weak are forsaken. The covenant of strength does not bend. Kale crouched beside her, rolling his eyes. Lucky for you, I'm not one of your people. He slid an arm carefully under her shoulders. She gasped, a mix of pain and outrage flashing across her face. You would bear me? Yeah, I'll carry you. Otherwise, you'll bleed out before the sun tilts. Her ears twitched, disbelief clouding her expression. Then, in a voice soft but edged with certainty, she murmured, then it is decided. You claim me. Kale froze, blinking. Wait, what? No. I'm just helping you walk. A smirk, faint but sly, tugged at her lips. You spoke the vow. To bear is to bind. That is the law of the Nithris. Before he could argue, she leaned heavily against him, her weight forcing his arms to tighten around her. He shifted her carefully onto his back, muttering curses under his breath as her tail, also tipped in violet, wrapped itself instinctively around his side. She winced, teeth grit, but her pride kept her from crying out. You hold me too tightly, she whispered. Kale panicked, loosening his grip. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Her claws pressed lightly against his chest. No. I meant, you should hold me tighter. Heat rushed to Kale's face. The Nithris girl laughed, a husky, broken sound, but still filled with teasing amusement at his embarrassment. He groaned. This is going to be hell. Every step across the wasteland brought some new misunderstanding. When he offered her water, she sipped with deliberate slowness, golden eyes locked on him. Sharing your fluids already, she murmured. Bold. It's water, Kale spat dust. Not, whatever you're thinking. She grinned despite cracked lips. Do humans always pant so much when aroused? I'm tired, he muttered. Not a dog. Forget it. When he tore strips from his shirt to bind her bleeding side, she stiffened, pupils narrowing. You strip yourself bare before me, she croaked. It's called bandaging, he grunted, tugging the knot tight. Her cheeks flushed faintly. A strange word for courting display. Display my ass, Kale muttered. You'll bleed out if I don't. Her tail lashed weakly, ears twitching with mischief. Gentler, unless pain is your way. He bit down on his own tongue, fighting not to laugh at the melodrama in her tone. Even wounded and half delirious, Lyra Valen found time to test him with barbed remarks. He almost admired the stubbornness. No Nithris would suffer this burden, she whispered. Kale shrugged, sweat already slick on his back where her body pressed against him. Guess it's a human thing. She studied him sidelong, golden eyes narrowing. Strange thing. Heavy thing. You pant, you groan. Yet you refuse to drop me. Are you certain you know what bearing means? Pretty sure it just means, carry, Kale muttered. She leaned closer, lips brushing near his ear. Not in my tongue. He nearly tripped over a jagged rock. Her breath was hot against his skin, her voice unsettlingly intimate despite the blood crusting on her side. The wasteland stretched endlessly around them, the heat shimmering off the cracked earth, yet she seemed more focused on twisting every action into a vow. Kale cracked open one of his ration bars and held it out. She sniffed it suspiciously before taking a tentative bite. Her eyes widened, confusion and amusement mixing. "This is from your body, isn't it?" "It's oats and sugar compressed into a brick," he said flatly. She licked her lips slowly, as though savoring more than the food. Strange courtship. Sweet, though. "It's food, not a proposal," he groaned, shifting her higher on his back. Her tail swished, brushing against him in ways that made him uncomfortable. She noticed instantly, her smirk returning despite the pain. "You stroke my tail roughly. Does that mean you accept me?" "I was brushing dust off." "Dust," she purred. Another human word for desire. Kale nearly dropped her right then. When he pressed cloth harder against her wound, she hissed sharply. "You press so firmly." "It's called stopping blood loss," he snapped. She murmured with dangerous softness. "So vigorous. So insistent. Are all human males like this?" "I'm not," Kale stopped himself, growling low. "Forget it." The silence between them never lasted. Lyra filled it with taunts, half playful, half serious. "No one has ever borne me," she said finally, her head drooping slightly against his neck. Kale muttered, "I wonder why." She ignored the jab. "To carry a highborn of Nithris across death itself. You do realize what this means?" "Yeah. My back will never forgive me," Kale said dryly. She giggled low, the sound husky. "No, human. It means you are mine." Dust devils spun across the horizon. The sun punished them without mercy. Yet her weight settled heavier against him, her claws slackening as she surrendered trust she clearly wasn't used to giving. Her voice softened, almost shy. "If you falter, I die. If you carry me, we live." Kale's jaw clenched, but he kept moving. "Guess I don't get to falter, then." Her violet ears twitched faintly. "You already spoke it. You'll bear me." He shook his head. "You really need a better dictionary." Still, when her breathing steadied against his neck, when her tail curled lightly around him like an anchor, Kale felt something shift. He was carrying more than just weight. To her, it was binding. To him, he wasn't sure. But for the first time, he wondered if she might be right. By the time the sun dipped crimson into the shattered expanse, Lyra stirred, whispering with sly certainty, "Too late now, human. All who see will know you bore me." Kale huffed, knees aching. Yeah. I carried you." Her lips curved faintly. "No, Kale. You carried more than me. And now you can never put me down." The wasteland stretched merciless, the ground cracked and cruel. But still he walked, her weight digging into his shoulders like both punishment and vow. The night deepened as Kale trudged forward, each step grinding dust into his boots. The sky bled with stars, stark and endless, and the wind howled low over the jagged stone. Lyra Valen shifted slightly on his back, violet hair brushing against his cheek, her ears twitching in the cold. She had gone quiet for some time, but quiet never lasted long with her. "You already stripped for me once," she murmured suddenly. Kale groaned. "It was called bandaging." "Stop saying it like that." Her golden eyes glimmered in the faint starlight, amusement flickering despite her exhaustion. "Nithris warriors strip themselves only for mates. You cannot blame me for mistaking your customs." He nearly stumbled over a rock. "I can blame you plenty." She chuckled, the sound raspy but sly. "You tear your shirt, you tie it around my wound, you hold me close. These are vows in my tongue. And you keep speaking them without knowing. Then your language is broken," Kale muttered. Her claws traced lightly over his chest, not enough to hurt but enough to remind him she was there. "No. It is binding. Kale pressed his lips tight, forcing himself not to respond. Silence seemed safer, but Lyra thrived on filling silence. She leaned forward, her breath warm against his ear. You pant. You groan. You sweat for me. Tell me, Kale Reiner, are you not already mine? He shifted her weight higher, ignoring the heat rushing into his face. I'm just trying not to collapse. Collapse with me, then, she whispered. It would still bind us. Kale muttered a curse, trudging harder just to drown her voice in the wind. When dawn came, he stopped long enough to refill the canteen at a shallow trickle of water. He offered it to her. She drank slowly, lips lingering on the rim before handing it back. Her golden gaze locked on him. You place your mouth here first, she murmured. Then you make me place mine. Are you marking me? He almost choked. It's called sharing. She licked a droplet from her lip, eyes half-lidded. Sharing. I like how humans do it. Kale rubbed a hand over his face. You're impossible. Her tail slid around his waist again, insistent and uninvited. He stiffened. What are you doing? Securing myself. A Nithris highborn must wrap her chosen mate, or another may claim him. Kale sputtered. I didn't sign up for this. Oh, but you did, she purred. The moment you bore me. The heat rose as the day stretched on, shimmering waves distorting the cracked horizon. Sweat glued Kale's shirt to his back, his muscles burning with the endless weight. Lyra leaned closer, nose pressed to his damp skin, inhaling deeply. Your scent changes, she whispered. Strong. Demanding. Are you claiming territory? I'm overheating, Kale snapped. She chuckled low. Among the Nithris, overheating means readiness. He nearly dropped her. Not in my kind, it doesn't. Strange, she whispered, voice dangerously amused. Then why do you blush so fiercely, Kale Reiner? He grit his teeth, focusing on the ground beneath his boots, each step heavier than the last. But she didn't stop. She never stopped. Later, as he tightened the cloth binding her wound, she hissed, gripping his arm. Firm. Dominant. Do you treat all wounds this way? It's called keeping you alive. Her voice softened into a whisper. Alive, yes, and claimed. Gods, you twist every word, he muttered. Lyra's lips curled faintly. Twist. No. Translate. Her golden eyes studied him while he pulled another ration from his pack. She sniffed the compressed grain suspiciously before nibbling slowly. Then, deliberately, she let crumbs fall across his chest. Kale's jaw clenched. You're doing that on purpose. Her tongue darted out, licking the crumbs away, dragging slowly across the torn fabric of his shirt. Wasting food is a crime. Besides, do humans not like to be licked clean? That's unnecessary, Kale muttered through gritted teeth. Then correct me, she whispered, or let me keep practicing until I learn. His patience frayed thinner than his shirt. Yet still he carried her, step after step, as though the ground itself would break before he did. Hours later, Lyra spoke again, her voice softer now, almost contemplative. Tell me, human. If I live, what will you do with me? Kale stiffened. I'll get you back to your people. Her lips curved into a sharp grin. So, you'll hand me away after carrying me? After binding me with every step? It's called returning you home. Home, she whispered. Her voice lost its sharpness, curling into something gentler. Home is where one is held. You carried me across death, Kale. Where you are, is my home now. His throat tightened, but he said nothing. Her ears twitched, catching even the silence, and she smiled faintly against his neck. So you admit it, she murmured. You're mine. Kale exhaled hard, muttering curses under his breath, but he didn't slow down. When night fell again, he laid her briefly against a rock to check her wound. She clutched his wrist suddenly. Do not put me down too long. Tradition binds tighter at night. You never stop, do you? He muttered. Stopping is for those who give up. And you haven't given up on me yet. He sighed, pressing the cloth harder to stanch the bleeding. Lyra bit his shoulder instead of crying out, startling him. What the hell was that? Kale barked. Her fangs grazed his skin lightly as she whispered, gratitude. A Nithris bite what they want to keep. You're insane. Insane for you, she breathed. When he lifted her again, her tail curled back around him, her body settling as though she belonged there. Her voice softened, drowsy but content. Each step you take, I know you more. Each breath you waste on me, I own you more. Admit it, Kale Reiner. You're not just bearing me. You're bearing us. Kale trudged onward, lips pressed shut. But Lyra heard the hitch in his breath, and her smile lingered as sleep claimed her again. Morning rose cruel over the shattered expanse. The cracked ground reflected the heat back at them like shards of glass, and every step Kale Reiner took felt heavier than the last. His muscles screamed, sweat stung his eyes, but the violet-haired Nithris clinging to him gave him no reprieve. Lyra stirred awake with a low murmur, her breath brushing his ear. Still carrying me? Even beasts rest between hunts. Kale rasped, humans don't quit halfway. Her lips curved faintly against his neck. So you last long. Interesting trait. My kind prides itself on speed. You're not making this easier, he muttered. That is my duty as your burden, she purred, or should I say, as your chosen. Kale ignored her, bending low at a shallow stream to refill the canteen. The water was murky, but it would do. When a droplet slid down his thumb, Lyra leaned forward and licked it before he could pull away. His eyes widened. I thought humans cleaned wounds with tongues, she teased. That's not how it works. Her smile curved lazily. Then show me how it works. Use yours. Kale nearly spilled the water. You're delirious. And yet, she whispered, I see you blush. The desert wind cut sharp, forcing him to shield her with his body. She shivered, then smiled faintly. You strip your comfort for me. A strange mating ritual. It's called not letting you freeze, Kale growled. Her violet ears twitched. And yet you do it without complaint. Perhaps humans mate with deeds rather than fangs. He didn't answer. His silence was safer, though she always filled it with more mischief. The sun climbed mercilessly. Vultures circled above, shadows flickering over the ground. Lyra lifted her head, golden eyes following their flight. They smell weakness, she whispered. But they will not land. They're waiting for me to drop, Kale muttered. She shook her head slowly. No. They see you already claimed. Predators do not steal what is marked. Great. Even the birds think we're married. Her laughter was husky, rolling despite her pain. Then stop fighting it. The terrain worsened, jagged ridges forcing him to climb. Lyra pressed closer against him, her breath hot on his neck. You grind me against you. Do you mean to declare me? I'm just trying not to fall, Kale snapped. Then fall with me, she whispered, fangs grazing his skin. It would still bind us. Kale swallowed hard, muttering curses into the wind. Yet he held her tighter, as though instinct itself betrayed him. By midday, the heat was punishing. His shirt clung to him, damp with sweat. Lyra inhaled deeply against his neck. Your scent changes again. Prey turning predator. You're delirious, he repeated. Or drunk on you, she countered softly. Her claws traced idle circles across his chest. Among the Nithris, this scent means ready to mate. Kale nearly choked on air. That's not what it means for us. Her sly grin returned. Then why does your face burn so red? He bit his lip, refusing to answer. The ground shuddered suddenly, a distant rumble of collapsing dunes. Kale froze, holding her tighter. Even the earth yields, she whispered, but not you. You're relentless. I have to be, Kale said through grit teeth. She kissed his neck lightly. No. You choose to be. That is what makes you dangerous. Beasts obey instinct. You obey stubbornness. Her wound flared again, blood seeping despite the makeshift bandages. Kale pressed harder, his voice rough. Better you complain than bleed out. Lyra's claws flexed on his arm. Complaining is not the sound I make. He broke another ration bar and offered it. She ate slowly, letting crumbs fall deliberately onto his chest again. Then she leaned forward, tongue dragging across his torn shirt. Kale froze. You're doing that on purpose. Do humans not like to be cleaned? She asked innocently. Not like this. Then correct me, she purred. Kale shut his eyes, counting his breaths, trudging on. Hours stretched, silence pressing heavy until she broke it. Tell me, Kale. If we survive, will you still bear me? He swallowed. I'll let you walk. Her smirk curved. Beside me, or behind? Beside. Her voice softened, almost tender. Then you understand. Bearing me was courtship. Walking beside me is marriage. Kale cursed under his breath, but her purr followed, triumphant. You're mine, whether you speak it or not. The horizon shimmered, faint signs of green breaking through the barren stretch. Lyra's golden eyes softened. Almost there. But you already won. You bore me farther than any Nithris ever would. You broke every law of weakness. It wasn't about winning, Kale rasped. Exactly, she whispered. That is why you did. His knees threatened to buckle, but he pushed harder, each step a vow he never meant to make. She nuzzled into his shoulder, tail tightening around him like a knot that would not come undone. When they see us, she whispered, voice low and certain, they will call me mated. They will sneer at you, human, yet envy you, because you carried what they forsook. I didn't do it for them, Kale muttered. Her smile curved faintly. I know. That is why it binds stronger. The edge of the wasteland neared, patches of green breaking the scars of earth. Kale gasped, half in disbelief, half in relief. Lyra's claws pressed weakly against his chest, her voice hushed but victorious. You bore me through hell, Kale Reiner. Now bear me into heaven. He shook his head, nearly laughing despite himself. You never stop twisting words. And you never stop bearing them, she whispered. Her eyes closed, her tail curled tighter, and for once she fell silent. But Kale knew the silence was not surrender. It was trust. The last stretch of the shattered expanse rose before them like a final trial. The land split into deep scars, jagged canyons cutting the ground into broken steps. Kale Reiner's legs trembled with every climb, yet he never loosened his grip. Lyra Valen's weight was a constant fire in his shoulders, her violet hair damp against his cheek, her ears twitching faintly as though she felt each heartbeat pounding through him. When he stumbled over loose stone, her claws tightened across his chest. Careful. If you drop me, tradition demands you pick me back up within 3 breaths. Otherwise, I will be free. Kale collapsed against a boulder, panting. That's supposed to encourage me? Lyra's golden eyes glimmered faintly. It depends. Do you want me free? He turned his face away, unwilling to answer. She smiled faintly, satisfied. Your silence is answer enough. Dust whipped across the path, cutting into his skin. He hunched low to shield her. She exhaled softly against his throat. You are softer than stone, warmer than sand, more stubborn than steel. You may lack claws, Kale, but you sink deeper than any beast. You've got a strange way of flirting, he muttered. Flirting? She chuckled weakly, coughing once at the strain. No. Declaring. When Nithris declare, we sink fangs. When humans declare, they carry. Both hurt. Both last. Kale handed her another ration. She chewed slowly, deliberately, letting crumbs fall onto him before licking them away again. He pinched the bridge of his nose, muttering. That's not a custom. That's harassment. Her violet ears twitched. Then stop me. He trudged on, refusing to answer, refusing to stop. By dusk, the horizon softened. Patches of green emerged like an oasis. Lyra stirred, voice faint but proud. Almost there. Yet you bore me farther than any of my kind would dare. They would have cast me aside. You carried me. Kale rasped, it wasn't about them. It wasn't about winning anything. That is why you did, she whispered. The canyon narrowed into a pass, shadows stretching long. His knees threatened to buckle, but her arms clung tighter, her tail curling firm around him as if refusing to let him fall. When they see us, she murmured, they will laugh at you first. A human carrying a highborn. But then they will see the vow. And they will know. Kale gritted his teeth. What vow? The one you already made, she whispered slyly. To bear me. To keep me. To never put me down. He groaned. So if I rest, I'm divorced. Worse, she smirked faintly. You'd be widowed. Kale barked a tired laugh despite himself. You're unbelievable. And you're mine, she purred. The path curved, and at last, campfires flickered in the distance. The Nithris camp rose from the edge of the green fields, tents clustered like teeth around the glow. Voices carried on the wind, guards, warriors, the tribe she had once called her own. Her ears twitched, her voice suddenly sharper. Slow your step. They must see. Kale nearly stopped. See what? That you bore me, she said simply. The guards froze as they spotted him staggering in, a human, filthy and half-broken, carrying their forsaken highborn across the wasteland. Shock rippled through their ranks. Lyra lifted her head proudly, though her body trembled with weakness. Her golden eyes locked on them with fire. Behold your cowardice, she called. You left me. Yet he bore me. He owns me now. Gasps spread like wildfire. Disbelief etched on their faces, anger mixing with awe. None stepped forward. Kale muttered under his breath, that's not what I meant by carrying you. Her lips curled faintly as she whispered for his ear alone. Meaning doesn't matter. Only that you bore me. That is law. The Nithris guards hesitated, eyes darting between them, but not one dared touch her. Lyra let her head rest back against Kale's shoulder, her voice softening for the first time, nearly tender. From Wasteland to here, step by step, you proved it, Kale Reiner. You didn't just bear me. You bore with me. And now you are bound to me. Kale sighed, a tired smile tugging at his lips despite the ache in his bones. Fine. Then you're stuck with me too. Her chuckle was weak but victorious. At last. You admit what I knew all along. As he carried her the final steps into the camp's heart, her tail wound tighter around him like a final knot, her whisper brushing his ear in a vow only he could hear. You bore me, Kale Reiner. Now you will bear me forever. And that's where our journey through the shattered expanse leaves Kale and Lyra, two unlikely companions bound by dust, pain, and an unshakable stubbornness that refused to break. What began as a simple act of mercy turned into a vow neither of them fully understood, yet both of them carried to the very end. Kale thought he was saving a wounded stranger. Lyra believed he had spoken a vow older than the stars. Somewhere between thirst and exhaustion, between taunts and half-hidden tenderness, both were right. Because carrying someone is never just about weight, it's about the choice to keep going when every step begs you to stop. For the Nithris, the covenant of strength had always meant abandoning the weak. But Kale rewrote that law with nothing more than sweat, grit, and sheer refusal to let go. Lyra may have twisted every word, may have teased every gesture into a vow of intimacy, but beneath her sly mischief was gratitude, and perhaps, a dangerous kind of love. And maybe Kale knew it, even as he staggered into that camp. Maybe the bond was more than words, more than law, more than tradition. Maybe, in the end, he carried not just her weight, not just her wounds, but her future, and his own. If you've enjoyed this story of dust, survival, and unexpected devotion, don't forget to subscribe for more tales like this one. If Kale's stubbornness and Lyra's slyness made you smile, hit that like button to let us know. And if you think your friends would get a laugh, or a little heartbreak, out of this strange bond forged in the Wasteland, share this video with them too. Every step of support helps us carry these stories farther.